When setbacks happened to him, he got back up, dusted himself off, and got back into the game. He has always expected that of himself and his team players too. When it comes to his players, he might even give us today some examples of what it meant by the phrase, tough love. Sam started out playing Little League as a kid and then high school varsity baseball third baseman at San Jose High. He played on the college JV baseball team at San Jose State for a couple of years. He then tried out for the varsity, did not make the cut. So instead of quitting baseball, as many of us would do altogether, however, and pursuing a different career, his love of the game led him into coaching. He began his coaching career in '74, leading the San Jose State freshman team to a first place finish with a 20-5 record. He went on to an apprenticeship as assistant coach under San Jose State coach Gene Menges for several years with the varsity. In 1980, he landed the head coaching job at Mission College, winning 2 state championships and 5 Coast Conference titles with just a 7-year history there, with a 190-70 win-loss record. In 1986, after Menges finally retired from San Jose State, Sam beat out all the competition and took over his position, assuming his role as head coach of the varsity baseball team. From there he went on to become the winningest head baseball coach in San Jose State history. He became the only head coach to guide the Spartans to a College World Series in the year 2000. Also, he was named to three times Western Athletic Conference Coach of the Year for the Western Athletic Conference for Western United States. In his career at San Jose State, he compiled 900 wins and just 3 losing seasons. He did all this without the benefit of a huge sports recruiting budget like Stanford. At the peak of his career in 2002, he suffered a major health challenge, being diagnosed with multiple myeloma of the bone marrow. Receiving a bone marrow transplant and many treatments at Stanford, with the help of his brother, he recovered a year and a half later and went on to be head coach for 9 more winning years at San Jose State. Always loving the sport, he could never retire. He left San Jose State and coached at Willow Glen High, as you just mentioned, very successfully with another league championship or 2, even today, helps his son part-time today coaching at Midi High. Please welcome San Jose's very own Sam Piraro.
Very kind. Thank you very much. That was very kind, and I appreciate that. First of all, I'm very happy to be here today. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I don't think I need a microphone. My voice is kind of loud. If you can't hear me, just raise your hand. I'll use the mic. But
Some of us over here do well.
okay. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. All right. All righty. Kirk was our farmer's agent for many, many years, and we developed a friendship. His brother-in-law and I was in his wedding, actually, his brother-in-law's wedding, a dear friend of mine, and we coached together the first year back in 1974, so have a relationship with that family, great family. Once again, thank you for having me today. I'll try not to bore you. I just kind of want to, give you a kind of a recap of some of the things that I've experienced in my life. I am a lifetime San Jose person. I'm 72, San Jose native. Had a chance maybe 3 or 4 times to relocate. I was offered some jobs out of San Jose, but my family was adamant that, all our family was here in San Jose, and they were reluctant to leave. Like my wife said one time, she goes, if you go, you're gonna have to go by yourself. And Joe, you know my wife, so don't tell her that, okay, that I said that. But anyway, I enjoyed being able, I didn't have to move, which was great. I'm a 1970 San Jose High School graduate, 75 San Jose State graduate. Got my secondary credential in 76 and my master's in 1980. Been married 44 years. That's, my wife, I got real lucky. In coaching, if you don't get the right wife, you're in trouble. No, and I'm serious. And I went, we dated for 3 years before we got married because I kind of wanted her to understand that not only would I be married to her, but I was married to coaching. And that's the only way you can do it if you want to have any success. And I got blessed by having this wonderful woman. She should have left me a long time ago, let's just put it that way. We have 2 children, son's 41, daughter's 36. They have their lives and careers and so on. We're a family, a close family. We do a lot of things together. I'm also a grandfather. I have a grandson that's 3, and we babysit 3 or 4 days a week, and I enjoy that. My wife actually babysits. I kind of let them play around, but that's the way that goes. I'm semi-retired. I actually retired from San Jose State in 2012. My wife continued to work at PG&E, where she worked for 45 years, and she had a great career there in her own right, and she retired in 2018. So during that time, I continued, I taught part-time at Mission, and then I began coaching. The Willow Glen experience was wonderful. I had never coached high school. All my experience was college, and I didn't think I could do it because I'm kind of strict. And I said, these high school kids, they're not going to like the way I go about my business. And you know what? They taught me a lot, and I had just a great love for them. I retired from there because I promised my wife when she retired that I would give up head coaching, and I did. But I continue to coach as an assistant coach, okay? I'm not good at very many things. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm not good. There again, if she needs something fixed, that ain't happening for me. But here's the beauty of coaching for 50 years, which I have. Ex-players of mine have, if I need a plumber, I know who to call. If I need an electrician, all my ex-players are they know how to do things. And I don't want a deal from them. I just call them and say, hey, listen, can you do this? I don't want a deal. You charge me whatever you want. I just want to trust you, and blah, blah, blah. And that's worked for us that way. So I've been very fortunate with that. My career ambition was to be a high school teacher and a high school coach. That was it. I wanted to teach high school and coach. But my path is unusual. So like Kirk mentioned, in 1973, our head coach called me in and said, Sam, we're not going to be able to keep you this year, but I want you to come back and see me in June, and I want to talk about next year, whether you come out again or whatever. I go back in June, and he says, listen, would you like to be the head freshman coach? And I said, well, coaching is something I think I might want to do. I was 21 at the time, and he explained to me, hey, there's no money, I can't pay you. But in fact, Kirk's brother-in-law, Steve, was my partner, and I dragged him out and made him my assistant coach. And we did win the championship that year. It was kind of, I thought this coaching business was easy. You just go out and first year you win the championship and say, oh man, this is easy. Anybody can do this. Of course, that's not the case. So I ended up, during that period, 73 to 76, I got my degree, got my secondary credential, finished my student teaching, and I was ready to go. And now this is where the first key moment in my life occurred. So following 1976, our season was over. I had graduated, got my credential, and the head coach brought me in and said, what are you going to do now? I said, I got to get a job. Now keep in mind, you might say, how did you make money if you didn't get paid, Sam? Well, my dad worked at Del Monte Corporation in a cannery. He was a production supervisor there. Didn't have a high school education, but was in charge of production at the Del Monte Pickle Factory, which is not there anymore. But anyway, so he told me, he said, I want you to work in the cannery. I know you're not going to like this, but you're going to learn the importance of an education, and you're going to make quite a bit of money. So basically what I did is I spent all my summers at Del Monte, 70 hours a week, 7 days a week. That's how it was when you're in season with pickles. And the benefit of that was twofold. Number one was, I know I didn't want to do this for a living. You know, I did not want to do this. You know, the belt started at 6:30, whether you're there or not. And if you're not there, you got a problem. You got 12 minutes for break, and 30 minutes for. I mean, the point was the discipline was incredible. And there again, I learned to be very disciplined at Del Monte doing this, and I was able to save quite a bit of money because canneries paid good. And after 40 hours, you got time and a half, and then after 60 hours, you got double time. And so I always said, hey, I'll work all day. I mean, I didn't care. And that was very helpful to me. That allowed me to coach for nothing. If that makes any sense to you. So even though I wasn't getting paid, the cannery work got me through it. So here we go, 1976, first key moment for me. Head coach says, what are you going to do? I'm not sure yet, coach. I need to get a job. Well, as I'm cleaning my locker out, a gentleman walked in. His name was Ernie Bullard. Ernie Bullard was our head track coach at San Jose State. He had taken over for Bud Winter. So any of you know anything about the history of track and field at San Jose State, Bud Winter was a famous coach. And Ernie took over for him. He said, hey Sam, what are you going to be doing? I said, I don't know. He said, you ever hear of Jim Brock? And I said, yeah, that's the Arizona State head coach. Now, Arizona State was the New York Yankees of college baseball. Them and USC were the two top programs in the country, Arizona State. He said, Jim Brock and I was the best man in his wedding. He was the best man in my wedding. He goes, I have a place for you to go next year as a grad assistant at Arizona State. He's going to pay for your tuition, and he's going to find you a place to live. And you'll be around these great players and these great coaches and blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden I'm thinking to myself, wow, okay, there's an opportunity here. So when I went in to talk to Coach Menges, the San Jose State coach, he about had a conniption. I mean, he said, you're what? What are you thinking of doing? I said, well, Coach, this might be a big break. He says, hold on a second here. When you go there, you know what you're going to do? You're going to sweep the dugout. You're going to, get lunch for the head coach. As a grad assistant, you're not going to be doing what you think you're going to be doing. If you stay with me and come up to the varsity, I'm going to let you put the practices together. I'm going to let you run the offense. I'm going to let you basically coach the team, even though he's the head coach, if you can believe that. And I'm 24 at the time, and I'm thinking, I'm confused. So I went and talked to my dad. I said, Dad, I need your opinion on this. Have a chance to go to Arizona State and get this taken care of and that taken care of, or I can work for free and stay here at San Jose State and work for Menges, and he's going to let me do this and this. And he said, it's a no-brainer, because you stay at San Jose State. He goes, even though you're not getting paid, what he's going to do for you is worth so much more money than you even have an idea. No coach, assistant coach at 24 years old, will be doing the things that you did. So to make a long story short there, I spent 3 years there, 77, 8, and 9, as his number one assistant. And the team did extremely well. We had 2 championships. Our head coach got Coach of the Year 2 years. And when I left there, he wanted to give me those plaques. And of course, I didn't take it. He said, well, no, these are yours, but my name's on there, And those 3 years were so beneficial to me because I got the chance to work under this guy who was not a great baseball guy now, but he taught a lot of life lessons. And he was Gene Menges. If you ever Googled him, you'd see he had a great background in football. And he happened to, be the baseball coach, even though he was not a great baseball man per se. But he saved me. Now, by now, my wife, not my wife, but it's my girlfriend, she's starting to ask me, what's cooking here? She goes, okay, we've been going together 3 years. You work in the Cannery. You spent a lot of time coaching. You follow you see where she's going with this? It's like, you're going to get a job or not? I mean, what's going on here? What am I stuck with here? Anyway, and so I looked at her and I said, I can see where you're coming from. I could understand that. You're looking at me saying, what am I getting involved with here? A slacker or whatever? She goes, I know you love this. I can tell you love it, and you're pretty good at it, but it won't pay the bills. So I said, give me 2 years, and if nothing happens, I will go out and pound pavement. I'll do whatever it takes with this degree. Well, I got lucky. In the spring of '79, a new school was being built next to Great America, and it was Mission College, brand new school. Right off the 101 there, and I interviewed for it. I went back for a second interview and ended up getting the job. I was not the most qualified guy. I saw the candidates way more qualified than me. I think I got it because I was young, I was single, even though I was going to get married the next year, but I didn't tell them that. And they knew being single, I could get out and recruit. Now, this is the amazing part of this. There were no players. We had no field. And we had no coaches. It was just me. Go build a program. Now, at 26, you think you can do almost anything. Sometimes you don't think right. But so what I would do is I'd work all day in the Cannery, get off about 7, take a shower, head over to PAL Stadium, head over to City College, head over to Washington Park. Any field that there were summer leagues going on, I went to looking for players. The first player I ever approached, still remember his name, Chuck Payton. Wilcox, graduate, 1980. Finished his game, I went up to him. I said, Sam Piraro, new head coach, Mission College. I'd like to talk to you about next year. He looked at me and he said, I have 2 questions. Who are you? And what is Mission College? I go, oh boy, this is going to be a tougher job than I thought. By the end of the summer, I had 22 guys. I got 22 guys signed up, mostly from the old Bookser High School, which is not, I think it's a junior high now, Wilcox, Santa Clara High, and Peterson, the old Peterson High School. And that's where I got the players. And we went ahead. The second year we ended up winning the state championship in California. It's kind of crazy, but we ended up winning 5 league titles, 2 state titles. And now San Jose State was calling me back. And they wanted me to come back as the head coach. And that was I had a big decision to make, because at Mission College, gentlemen, I was not only the head coach, I was the athletic director, the department chair, the assistant dean of students. And I was paid very well. So when I got this offer, the chancellor, a guy by the name of Gustavo Melander from Peru, he was the chancellor of the district. He came over to my office one day and says, what's this about you thinking of leaving? I said, well, I got a chance to be a Division I head coach, and boy, that was kind of a goal of mine. He said, that'd be the biggest mistake of your life. Biggest mistake. Why is that? He says, do you realize the jobs you have here? He goes, in 5 years, you will be the president of this school. I go, I don't want to be the president of this school. I want to be a Division I coach. He says, San Jose State has no money. He goes, you'll go there and you'll be fired within 3 years, and then what are you going to do? Now, he was right about a lot of this, by the way, okay? Because budget-wise, we didn't have much of a budget, and I'll explain that to you. So what do you know what he ended up doing? He gave me a 1-year leave of absence. He said, you know what, I'm going to give you a year's leave. So if it doesn't work out for you, you can come back. Boy, that was a humongous break for me. So sure enough, I go over to San Jose State for my budget meeting. I meet with the budget lady. She has this 3x5 card. She puts it out and then she jerks it back. She said, Sam, can I ask you a question? Why in the hell did you take this job? She goes, you were set. I took a pay cut to go to San Jose State. If you can believe that. I was making way more at Mission College. Took a pay cut. Gives me the list of the budget. Scholarships. Back then it was 13. Baseball was allowed 13 full scholarships. This is in '86. Now it's 11.7. We had 2.75. Now the league we were in was Cal State Fullerton, Fresno State, UNLV, Santa Barbara, Irvine, Long Beach, all the top teams in the country. This league produced national championship teams. And I'm going, what am I doing? What was I thinking here? Maybe I made a mistake. And got the next part of the budget, no paid assistant coaches. So I'm going, okay, wow, that might be a problem. How am I going to get people to come work for nothing at this level? Blah, blah, blah. I eventually said, okay, took the job and went along my way. Now, the first thing I did there was try to change the culture. And I think you've heard before, people take over companies, CEOs, presidents, and you want to have your own culture. I was very strict, okay? I was strict. I didn't allow our guys to have facial hair, long hair. The grooming, there was a grooming rule we had. They had to understand the importance of being on time, accountability, all these things that I really believed in. But you know what? That was really, really hard getting that across because the previous coach, he ran a little bit of a lax program. Guys kind of did what they wanted. He had guys with long hair. Not that I'm knocking that. It's just that I wanted to have guys make sacrifices. I wanted we wanted to be a unit. Everybody kind of was the same, wore the uniform the same way, things like that. Nowadays, I don't know if you can pull that off. It's really changed a lot. But I stuck with it, and it was a tough battle. But by the third year, we were a nationally ranked team. We had strung together some seasons, and we were on our way. I can tell it was starting to pay off. Things culminated in 2000 by making the College World Series. I think about that. The teams that were there, I don't know if you guys follow college baseball or not, but Texas, USC, Stanford, LSU, Florida State, USC, who else? Clemson, and us, San Jose State. Those schools are power schools. And here we were ESPN made us the, what's the word I'm trying to come up with here? We were the Cinderella team. And I really screwed up as a coach because what I did at Omaha was completely different than what I had done during the season. Our road trips were business trips. 3-game series, I would tell the guys, hey, we're on and that's how we approached our road trips. So we had curfews. Obviously I didn't let the guys drink. I was kind of a nut on that kind of stuff. Even though, college, you have a good time. But when you're part of a team, you have to make sacrifices in your personal life. It's just the way it is. Well, when we got to Omaha, I let the guys enjoy themselves. I told them, hey, no curfew. A lot of the families were there. Enjoy your family. We got off a routine a little bit, and we didn't play great there. We lost 2 tough games, but I take a lot of the blame for that because I changed their routine and kind of let them do their own thing. But I have no regrets about it. They deserved that, okay? I was able to maintain that for the next 2 years. We were a nationally ranked team. And then my life changed. My life changed. I'm convinced I had cancer in 2001. My son and I were playing basketball in the front yard, and he gave me an elbow, nothing big. And all of a sudden I heard a pop. And I went in, and my son said, "Dad, what's the deal?" I don't know. So I went and got checked out. I had a broken rib. I said, that shouldn't have happened. Well, I kept on, working every day. I'm hitting fungos in practice. Guy next to me feeds me the ball. I fungo the ball, crack. The guy who fed me the ball, his name was Mickey Manzo. He said, "Coach, what was that?" I said, "I don't know." Well, I go in again. It's another broken rib. So I'm starting to think something's going on here. And when you see, here's the thing about, and I'm sure some of you experienced this with the jobs you had, sometimes consumed you, and that took a precedent, right? I mean, in coaching, it's 7 days a week. That's just the way it is. When you sign up for it, that's what it is. 7 days a week, and you don't get sick. You can't get sick. You have to do what you got to do. So I just ignored it until my assistant coaches came up to me one day and said, "Hey, you're not walking right. You don't look good." My wife was telling me that too. She says, "There's something going on." So what do? Team doctor takes me in for a MRI and a CT scan. Okay? He comes out of the room with this look on his face. He goes, "Sam, this is bad. This is bad." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You got cancer and it's metastasized. It's spread all over." So he goes, "Monday morning, you're going to go see this doctor, blah, 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 and we've got to figure out exactly what the deal is." Well, anyway, that was a hell of a weekend. It was a Friday when I got the diagnosis. Saturday and Sunday, I don't think I slept a second. Monday morning, we saw this doctor, and she was a nice lady, and she says, "You have multiple myeloma." And I said, "You mean melanoma?" He's like, when you're outside a lot, sometimes you get the skin cancer. She goes, "No, multiple myeloma." I go, "What is that?" She goes, "It's cancer of the bone marrow. And there's no cure." Oh, that's good to hear. And if you don't treat it, you have 18 months. If you treat it, and I'm gonna blah, 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 we're gonna try to do this and that, maybe you can live 5 years. Okay, now this was not the news that you wanted to hear. A booster, a guy who supported our program financially, the guy gave us a lot of money because he liked our program. When he found out, he called me and said, "There's a doctor I want you to see." His name was Martin Rubenstein. He's retired now. So he goes, "Call this doctor." So I did. And they said, "Not taking any more patients." So the booster called me, said, "Did you talk to Dr. Rubenstein?" I go, "Yeah, he's not taking any more patients." He goes, "Just hold on where you're at, don't go anywhere." 20 minutes later, I get the phone call. It's Dr. Rubenstein's office. He goes, "Come and see me." So this booster had that much influence with this doctor, and I now became his patient. And from then on, for the next 6 months, chemotherapy 4 times a week. There again, a different lifestyle. Basically, your life's turned upside down, to be honest with you. And San Jose State was great to me. They called me, the president, Dr. Corrett, said, "You tell me what you want to do with the program, who you want to have take over, and we're going to stick with you until you're back at it." So I named my assistant head coach as the head coach, and I was out of commission for 16 months. I had a stem cell transplant in April of 2003, then I had a bone marrow transplant July 18th of 2003. My brother happened to be a perfect match so we could have the transplant. Then I had 100 days of quarantine and having to go up to Stanford 100 days in a row. And my wife, there again, my wife, if I didn't have her, I know I wouldn't be here because she took leave from PG&E and she was my caregiver. She made sure she got me the baseball network. And so what I did is every day when I wasn't at Stanford, I watched baseball games on TV all day. And occasionally I'd have friends come over, but I couldn't, Kirk's got that, they couldn't get close to me because I had no immune system. Basically, I could get something just like that. So, in late 2003, the doctor came in, all my tests were okay. He said, now I don't recommend you go back to work. He goes, I think you should retire and enjoy the rest of your life. And I said, Doc, you have to understand this whole time, aside from thinking of my kids and my wife, I've been thinking about getting back into coaching. That's kind of part of my life. And every day that was what went through my mind. And now, I found myself during this time crying a lot. And I would cry because my kids were young. And I just couldn't imagine, they weren't ready yet. I had to be there. And my wife would say, and she would talk to them. I can remember one time she didn't know I was listening, and the kids were saying, is Dad gonna die? And if so, when is he? And my wife came up with one of the great answers I've ever heard. She said, your dad is too mean and too stubborn to die. He's gonna get through this. Now, I don't know if she meant that or not, because I don't think I am stubborn, but I don't think I'm mean. But there again, she had to deal with that. And there again, I was very fortunate. Well, I started up against the doctor's orders, went back to work, did cut back on my travel a little bit, and I continued for 9 more years at San Jose State. I was blessed to do that. Enjoyed it. I did retire in 2012, but have continued working. I think this, what I try to tell young people, I do a lot of mentoring with coaches and players. I try to tell them this, your mind is a very amazing thing. It's amazing what you can do if you think you can do it. When I was sick, I can't tell you how many calls I got from like a sports writer, because my thing was in the paper. And so I'm getting all these calls. And the doctor told me this, don't get on the internet and read about this. Don't get on the internet. Well, of course my friends did. And their calls were like, oh man. And I would tell you this, to this day, don't look on the internet for my illness. Okay? Because it's not good. Don't ask me why I'm here. When I go to Stanford twice a year, I still go back. I run all these tests. There's 6 doctors in that room staring at me like, what are you doing here? Well, how are you? And they ask me a million questions. Well, are these, you're taking these supplements, you're doing what? They can't figure it out. Now, I can figure it out to a certain extent. I've been blessed. I'm very fortunate. I'm lucky. The doctors were great. I listened to the doctors. I got lucky. My family was there for me. Mentally, I felt I relied on my competitiveness. I'm kind of a competitive person. And I believe in that. So I speak to cancer patients whenever I can. And I go up to Stanford and I do that. And I explain to them, don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Think day by day on how you're going to get. I had a calendar on my desk in my office at home. Crossed every day off. 89, 88. Okay, 87 was a bad day, but I got through it. 86, all the way down. I got to that last week, and I'm counting it down. And I can remember when I hit 0, I told my wife, I'm going out now. I'm gonna go out. Where are you going? Well, I gotta go to the bank. I wanna go to Blockbuster. And then I wanna go get something to eat. You know what I did when I went into the bank and I started shaking hands with people I didn't know? I had been out of commission for so long, I'm just going up shaking people's hands. And they're looking at me like, who is this nut? But I mean, getting back into life was an amazing thing. And so, there again, I take nothing for granted. I'm thankful for every day. I'm thrilled to be here. Absolutely thrilled to be in front of you guys. So, I continue to coach. Just last year was my 50th year. 50 years in this profession. 31 in Division I, 9 in community college, and 10 in high school. And I'm telling you something. There is no thrill going up to young people and helping them and giving them feedback, advice, and then when they have success, seeing that smile on their face. You can't buy that. You cannot buy that. I have friends that make, millionaires. They have no idea the satisfaction you get from coaching and teaching when you help young people. You help young people become better. There again, I'm so far from, I made God, like my wife said, you don't do what you ask your players to do. They saw how you are around the house. They wouldn't listen to you. I said, well, no, I know, but I want them to be perfect. I know I'm not, but I don't want them making mistakes. I don't want them screwing up. So I have to make those demands. So I end with this, fellas, is that, life's precious, it's short. I've been blessed 100 times over. I'm in 5 Hall of Fames, which I don't think I deserve to be in any of them. But hey, that's great. When you get old, that's what happens, I guess. San Jose State's going to honor me on October the 18th in a big thing. And I'm going to have over 100 of my former players there, going back to 1974. Wow. And if you don't think that's going to be a treat, God, I hope you let me live that long, because I'm really looking forward to that. Get a chance to thank those guys. They had to put up with me. And I wasn't a treat. I was very demanding of those guys. But you know what? It must have helped some of them. And I don't regret that. So, if any of you have any questions, I don't know if you have time for questions or not, but I'd be glad to, if I can answer. Yes, sir.
Was spirituality or prayer ever an aspect in your journey through all that?
What a great question. My mom and dad went to St. Martin's Church every day and did rosary for me. My wife slept with the rosary in bed. She slept with it. Of course, I prayed, okay? I wish I could say I'm more of a practicing Catholic, but I believe, but I had a lot of people praying for me. So do I believe in that stuff? Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Having experienced it now and seeing, what is your perspective over mind over matter?
Well, there again, like I said, I think we underestimate ourselves, and with young people in particular, when they hit a roadblock, a lot of times they're not looking for a way to get through the roadblock. They'll go the other way. So there again, the beauty of coaching is finding ways to get these guys to get over the obstacle. I'll give you an example. The English teacher, the math teacher, the history teacher, they're limited to what they can do. Okay? They teach their lesson. They could be a Nobel Prize winner. But you know what? You can't cuss at a guy or a kid. you can't raise your voice in the English. You follow what I'm saying? But let me tell you something. In coaching, you can make a difference. I'm ashamed to say, I work at Midi now, and the whole staff played for me, if you can believe that. That whole coaching staff there are ex-players of mine. So they'll come up to me and they'll say, hey, coach, you know, just kind of be conscious of your the way you go about, you know. And I said, don't worry, whatever you want to do it. And so there's very rare that I will step out of line there, but there's always a magic word or two that presses a button and gets somebody's attention. And that's what education is to me. Changing behavior, coaching is changing behavior for the good. That's what coaching is. You really say, hey, coach, it's changing behavior. Getting somebody to do the right thing, which will lead to other things in their life so they make good decisions. It's about decision making. And sometimes you have to be hard. My wife said this to me one time. She called me before I came home from work. I said, I'm coming home now. She goes, you got to talk to the kids. She goes, I want you to talk to Jason and Jenna. They were disrespectful to Grandma today, and you're going to have to, okay. Now, I drive home, and it's about 8:30. They're going to go to bed here pretty soon. And I sit down, and they run up to me, and I'm hugging them and kissing them, because I didn't get to see much of them, to be honest with you. I missed all their birthdays, because I was on the road. Okay, I missed a lot of stuff. And so she goes, so anyway, they go to bed. She goes, why can't you coach your kids like you coach your players? That's a logical question. I said, you know how exhausting it is to be an asshole every day? Do you know how hard it is to be an asshole? And I am an asshole. When I come home, I don't want to be that. It's exhausting. People always thought I liked doing, no. When I was an assistant coach, I didn't care if the guy, how he was doing in school. I wanted to be loyal to the head coach and then coach the players as much as I could. I didn't care how long the guy's hair was. Now, when I became the head coach, oh, did that change? I was in charge of everything now. In a team meeting, you had to have your no hats, okay, clean shaven, shoes and socks, standing or sitting upright in your chair, no water, no anything. That's like the military. In fact, I had guys go in the military say, Coach, it was easier in the military than it was playing for you. I said, well, that's okay. I must have helped you a little bit. So there again, I was very, I don't think I could have lived up to my demands. I don't think I could have. But I tried like hell to get those guys to, and so when I see some of these guys on October 18th, it's going to be very emotional for me. When you say the love, when I see ex-players today, I always say, I love you. My wife will see it, she'll see my phone occasionally, she'll read a text. Like on Father's Day, I get a lot of texts. I love you, Coach. And that's crazy. But I love them. But the love was not the love maybe at the time they thought it was.
Not cuddly.
No, not cuddly. I'm not one of those, but. So, I didn't mean to go off on that, but yes, sir.
You ever think about writing a book?
What a great question. The question was, would you ever write a book? I get on LinkedIn. I don't know if you guys know what LinkedIn is. It's kind of like a Facebook thing, I think. I don't do Facebook or any of that stuff, but I do LinkedIn, and what I do is I do these baseball articles on LinkedIn. So one day I get a message from a lady. She goes, Sam, I read your articles and I've done some research on you. I would like to I'd like you to do a book with me. And she goes, I think your story's fascinating and it might be helpful. And I said, how much work would go into it? She goes, quite a bit. And I said, check with me in a few years. Right now I don't want to do that. But if she does ask me again, I might consider it if I think I can help people with it. Because that's what it's all about. And that's what coaching's all about. And you know what? Coaching today is harder than it's ever been. People will tape you, take a picture of you. You have to really watch what you do when you coach. You got to watch your language. Parents can be a little bit feisty. So I respect that profession tremendously, but for the main reason, the influence that you can have on other people. The influence, okay? And I will end with this. 99.9% of the things that I did, decisions I made, I felt were in the best interest of the people under my charge. There's that fraction there that maybe I wasn't. But I can tell you what my process was. No fun disciplining somebody. Kept guys back on road trips. I kept 2 guys from going to Omaha because they plagiarized in a classroom. And when we put up the travel squad, and they said, "Coach, I can't go to Omaha?" I said, "No, you need to learn a lesson here. Here's the lesson." I take it back, not the World Series. It was the regional and then the super regional. So they wanted to go to the regional. No, you're not going. Now we go to the super regional. No, you're not going. They're crying now. So now we make the World Series. Here they are. I let them go. I let them go. I said, "Have you learned your lesson? Do you realize what you did was not something that is good?" "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." And I gave in on that. But I think I got to cross my point to them. And that's the key. There again, you don't want to be vindictive. You want them to walk away learning something, and hopefully they come back and thank you. And that's why I'm saying, when I get these texts and stuff, it's I'll start crying on occasion. My wife said, "You must have got one of those again, huh?" Yeah, I did. Yeah. And this guy, I didn't even think this guy liked me. In fact, I know this guy didn't like me. But something, come to Jesus or something. I don't know. So anyway, if there's any other questions, I'll take them. Yes, sir.
I think everybody in their life has a teacher that made an impression on them. There's one teacher, and you're one of those people. And when you go to your event, you're going to find that out.
Thank you. That's a nice. I'm hope that's correct. I hope you're right, but we'll see. We'll see. But,
Coach, one question.
Yes, sir.
San Jose State football. You watch the team all season long, and the players get into the playoffs, and then when the playoffs come, the guys that got the team to the playoffs have something new called opting out.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So they get to the playoffs, and then some guys that got the team there
Yeah.
no longer play.
That's happened, I think, the last 4 or 5 years. Christian McCaffrey was one of the first guys that did that for Stanford. When McCaffrey was still at Stanford, he was one of the first guys that bolted from a bowl game for Stanford, and then from there. And a lot of these guys are doing that because, obviously, money. You guys know what the transfer portal is?
Yes.
Okay, the transfer portal is this. If you're on my team and you decide you want to leave, you can just go. It used to be where, okay, when we recruited, we wanted a family. We wanted a family. So the first year as a freshman, you may not play all the time, but eventually you will play. Nowadays, that guy's out of here.
Independent.
It's free agency time. Now, if you ask me, is that good? I couldn't do it. That'd drive me nuts. The guy can just take up, let's say I get mad at a guy. He's gone. You almost have to have coaches on your staff that monitor that. Hey, Sam, you better talk to Bill. Bill's mad at you. He may be leaving. Oh, shit, okay. And then, of course, with NIL, you guys know what the NIL is. And there's a lot of that money going around. Football, there's no exaggeration. In college baseball, the SEC is offering $1 million to players to leave. $1 million. I'm going to repeat that. $1 million. And that's not make-believe. different world now. We're in a different world. And the genie, I think's out of the bottle. I don't know if we can ever get back there again, but it's a different world. So anyway, man, thanks for hanging in there with me. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.